As many head back to school, parents and students may have questions on how to manage student loans once they graduate. Luckily, the experts at SchoolsFirst Federal Credit Union are providing resources and information on how to manage college loans now and in the future. SchoolsFirst Fruit Ridge branch manager Tammura Beaver is here to share best practices to pay down college debt. Welcome back, Tammura.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
I know. It's always nice having you on, and it's such a timely topic. I feel like every time we have you guys on, we're talking about things that matter and people want to know more about.
That's important.
Yes.
That's important.
Yeah. So, Tammura, many young adults hope to start their career and build a life, but with the burden of thousands of dollars in student debt, how can they even begin?
You know, student loans just in general are so overwhelming. And so I think the first step is understanding what type of loan you are in. So there are two different types of student loans. There's federal student loans and private student loans. So your federal is the loan that you apply for each year through FAFSA, right? So it's governed by the federal government. Your rate is in your regulations, and all of that is housed by the federal government. Private student loans are those loans that you get through your bank or your credit union, sometimes some state agencies or your school. So understanding the difference, you know, a lot of us with federal student loans haven't made those payments. We haven't been in a payment environment in a really long time, which is setting to expire in a couple weeks here. So it's really important to know what type of loan you have and kind of start planning for making those payments.
Definitely. And don't most student loans have a grace period?
They do. So the federal student loans have that 6-month grace period from the time that you finish school, so you can kind of get on your feet. And then the private loans, it really depends on your lender. So again, it's important that you know kind of what do you have and what are the terms and conditions that came with your loan.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I remember when I was in college, I did both like the subsidized and unsubsidized loans, not really knowing what I'm getting into. And, you know, we're still paying it back, but that's why it's so important to get the information ahead before you kind of agree to getting the loan.
Yes.
So at least students get a little bit of time before they have to start a payment schedule with that grace period, right?
Yeah, so like I said, that grace period really helps students get on their feet. You know, for a lot of them, they're going into the workforce for the first time. So really get comfortable, starting to get their financial house in order, start their job, get ready and start planning to make those payments. So it's really helpful to have that 6 months. I always recommend, though, that you start making payments during that time if you can, to kind of get in the habit of this new payment, this new debt that you've taken on, or at the very least paying the interest, because during that 6 months you are still accruing interest. So it's important to pay those so you're not starting with a higher balance.
Yeah, and you definitely want to build that credit as soon as you can. So
absolutely.
And what's the best strategy to pay down a student loan?
You know, it's going to vary for everybody. All of our financial situations are different depending on what type of employment, you know, you kind of secure after you graduate. So it's important that you look at your budget, what you can afford. If you can afford to make more than your minimum payment, we're always going to recommend that on any type of loan. But it's absolutely okay too, just to make your minimums until you get into a situation where you can. So really look at your financial house and see what can you afford to do, and then go with that plan.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned making more than the minimum payment, because even though it looks nice, that interest rate kind of continuously builds up. So if you can do it, definitely do so. So for families with multiple loans, how do you keep all this straight?
You know, like I said, student loans are so overwhelming. Like you, I remember when I first came out of college and I just had all of these loans with these little payments. How am I going to keep kind of on top of all of these? You have two options. You can consolidate those loans, contact your lender, typically your federal loans. They can kind of take your interest rate that you pay on average amongst all, put them together, and you just pay one payment and then they divvy it between all the different loans. Or you can always look at refinancing, and that's when you go to your private lender and say, I want to take all of this loan and kind of pay that off and start over with one. But don't do that if your interest rate is going to go up. That's never a recommendation. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're paying more than you have to.
Yeah, definitely. And how can SchoolsFirst help with students and families as they're working on paying back student loans?
So we're always a resource. So come in and see us. If you have any questions, we also have our website, SchoolsFirstFCU.org, which has information on the different types of loans, some budgeting tips, some, you know, repayment options. So look on our website. Always reach out to your, you know, your financial professional if you need some help and you need help making those payments.
Yeah, I think that's so helpful, because I know, like, when you see the college loan you see that big number, but if you plan correctly, you're able to kind of chip away at it.
That's right. That's right. And hopefully not pay them forever, right?
Exactly.
I'm still paying on mine too.
Me too.
It's okay.
We're working on it.
Yes, we are. Slowly but surely.
Yeah. Tammura, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. For more information or to find a SchoolsFirst branch near you, visit SchoolsFirstFCU.org.